Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Her Story in the Making, IT Leaders Talk Career Change Strategies. I'm your host, Sylvia Correa. I've been with Capital Group for 3 years, working in talent acquisition at our Irvine campus. You're all in for a real treat. Our leaders are here at Capital Group are going to share their firsthand experience and practical strategies for making confident career moves. You'll learn how to navigate your career shift, whether you're aiming for a lateral move within your current company or planning to find new opportunities altogether. I'd like to express our appreciation to Fairy Godboss for providing Capital Group with this platform, making it possible for us to organize today's exclusive live stream event. This event features leaders at Capital Group who will share invaluable insights and practical advice on successfully transitioning your career. It is a fantastic opportunity to engage with our leaders, learn, grow, and truly unleash your potential. This initiative is a testament to the Capital Group culture that fosters personal and professional development, resonating deeply with our fundamental value of community. Events like these allow us to come together, share knowledge, and support each other's journey towards excellence. Thank you for being a part of this, and let's make the most of this fantastic live stream event. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator, Jonathan Zabowski, Senior Manager of Career Development and Internal Mobility. Jonathan is a senior talent development leader at Capital Group with over 10 years of investment industry experience. He is deeply passionate about creating and implementing talent solutions that align with Capital's vision and goals, ensuring a skilled and engaged workforce. Before joining Capital Group 3 years ago, Jonathan was Assistant Vice President of Capital Development at Oak Tree Capital Management, and previously worked at Goldman Sachs in Asset and Wealth Management. He holds an MBA from the State University of New York in Albany, and a bachelor's degree in finance from Santa Ana College. Jonathan resides in Orange County, California, with his husband, Jeff. Please join me in welcoming Jonathan Zabowski.
Great. Thank you, Sylvia. And thank you, Fairy Godboss, for having me today. I am so excited to moderate this discussion and hear from a few inspirational leaders from Capital Group. And just as a reminder, today's discussion is really about IT leaders sharing those career change strategies. So our speakers will tell us some stories about how they have maybe recognized that it was time for a change, or how they have overcome some challenges or moments of self-doubt, and how they leverage their networks to really lead into some of those career changes. So with that said, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing our 3 amazing speakers today. And I'm going to start with Hema Rajashekara. So Hema is a senior manager at Capital Group in the Client Experience Technology Department. Since she joined back in 2005, Hema has contributed significantly to various teams, including equity trading, compliance and order management, digital servicing, portfolio solutions and services, and content engineering. With a strong technical background and a knack for building really strong relationships with business and IT partners, she's really dedicated to driving innovation and delivering high-quality solutions. Before joining Capital, she has worked as a software developer in various industries, including manufacturing, naval surveillance systems, airline and cargo revenue accounting, and telecom startups, to name a few. And on a personal note, Hema is a proud mom of Sachin, who's 20, and Zahana, who is 17. Both are nearing graduation in college and high school this year. So Hema, welcome, and I think you definitely have your hands full this year.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. It's great to be here.
Great. And then next, I'm going to introduce Munka Vogel. So she is a senior solutions engineering manager at Capital Group, where she has dedicated 19 years of her career. She began her journey at CG as an early career college hire in the technology group after graduating from the University of California in Riverside with a degree in computer science. She's a passionate technologist who excels at simplifying business processes through innovative technology solutions. Throughout her tenure at CG, she has contributed to several technology teams and has been involved in numerous large-scale programs. And Munka is a proud mom of 9-year-old twins. Welcome, Munka.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great. And then lastly, Sam. So Sam Nelson is a senior program manager at Capital as well, with over 20 years of program delivery experience. She has had spent the last 4 years overseeing early career programs for both data and technology. And under her leadership, our EDGE program has evolved significantly, bringing in over 250 high-performing and high-potential associates. She is a mom of 2 kids. So Sean, who is 15, who is a freshman in high school, and then Jake, who is 11, who is in their first year of middle school. And she lives in Orange County with her husband, Robert. Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, Jonathan. Glad to be here.
Great. All right, I'm eager to jump into some of the questions that I have for all of you. And I think in full disclosure, I'll probably ask this first question to all 3 of you, because I think just having an origin story is really important. And I know that I touched briefly on your careers at Capital, but I think what we want to do is go a little bit deeper. So Sam, since I ended with you, we'll just stay with you to answer this first question. And here it is. What sparked the beginning of your career journey, and what really led you to Capital Group?
Thanks, Jonathan. Well, I'm the first in my family to have a position in both financial services and technology. I originally went to school to be a journalist, and when I graduated, maybe aging myself a bit, it was the .com era where maybe there weren't a lot of journalist jobs. So I had to quickly pivot and figure out what I was going to do. So I looked for a new path in the newspaper. So before there were online postings, you actually had to go into the newspaper and there was a printed ad for that job. Today, we might think it's a little bit of a scam. Apply in person, no experience needed, maybe some attention to detail. So I dusted off my resume, printed it, actually a hard copy, walked over to the company, brought it with me, interviewed same day. And I really looked to translate the skills that I had learned in school. And so I knew I was highly organized, a great communicator, had a lot of great attention to detail, and I was a quick learner. And so I'm not really sure they knew what they wanted, and I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing there, but I got the job the same day. Later on that afternoon, they gave me a call. I really had the opportunity to mold that position into a great learning opportunity for myself and something that really benefited that company. I stayed there for a couple of years, and when they did a reorganization, there was online job postings then. So I applied online to my next opportunity and worked there for a little bit and had told the recruiter I want to work at Capital Group because I sat next to someone who was doing their MBA program on Capital Group. So I had a little bit of knowledge coming in. And the recruiter was like, okay, we'll see. And about 7 months later, there was an opportunity. And here I am. I joined in 2003, like Jonathan mentioned. And it's been one of the best pivoting decisions that I've made. Thank you.
Amazing. And I love how you set a goal and you achieved it. You wanted to get to Capital Group, and a few months later, you were here. So, Monka, what about you?
Yeah, and Sam, it was great hearing about your journey to Capital Group. Mine's a bit different. So Capital Group is actually my first company after college, and I've been here 19 years later. I'll be celebrating my 20th anniversary later on this year. And I met Capital Group at a career college fair, and I kind of remember it really, really distinctly. It was an outdoor career fair. It was raining. I was probably about 8 months away from graduating college. It's starting to look for different opportunities and look for where am I going to land after college. So I met Capital at this outdoor career fair. It was raining. There weren't too many people there, which I guess was advantageous towards me because I found Capital Group later. I started interviewing with Capital Group and just sort of was I think I remember for an entry level position, it was 4 to 5 interviews. Everyone was super, super thoughtful. And I was very, very impressed with the company. So decided to join in their technology team. And when I first joined, I was part of an internally rotating early career college hire program. And so I did 2 rotations with that early career college program and then moved into another rotating group. So for my first 5 years at Capital Group, I think I was part of 5 or 6 different technology teams, which was great because I was kind of like an internal, like an contractor, but internal contractor, getting to rotate from team to team to team, doing slightly different things and working in different sort of parts of our investment life cycle, which was great. It was a fantastic experience just to be able to kind of try out different teams, work on different initiatives, and be able to sort of take something from team 1 and move it on to team 2, take something from teams 1 and 2, move it on to the 3rd, 4th, 5th positions that I had with that internally rotating group. After that, then I ended up landing on a team. That internally rotating group ended. And then I've done a couple of career pivots myself. And I think career pivots and moves and transitions are great because you enhance your learning so much.
Yeah, thank you. And then Hema, what about you?
Yeah, so my journey to Capital Group kind of evolved organically, but and I would say one of my biggest career pivots happened at Capital Group. But to take a step back, when I first started college, I wanted to go to medical school. So I wasn't thinking about Capital Group or even technology back then. But and my parents were thrilled, and they followed me to my college orientation. And I still remember my dad like shouting, "Hey, Ma, take chemistry, biology," from outside the orientation registration line. But it didn't take me long to realize that those sciences were not necessarily my strength. And I ended up getting a degree in applied math and statistics with a minor in computer science. And I wasn't necessarily a good student, so it took me a bit to find a job. But when I did, I think while I wasn't a great student, I did perform really well on the job. And my first job was at a manufacturing firm called Universal Instruments in Binghamton, New York. So close to Albany, Jonathan. So that's where my career journey began, and it kind of evolved from there. And I explored various industries. I joined a telecom startup during the dot-com era. It was all primarily as a software developer, and I would say with each and every experience, each and every company that I worked at, it was truly a great learning experience, and it kind of helped me to find like what my strengths and my interests are, and that I really like solving problems and I like innovating in technology and business. So over time, I made several jumps. Some were driven by me, some were driven just by life changes, and joining Capital Group was kind of the next step in that journey. And coincidentally, that was also when I was starting my family. My son was born. I moved to Southern California from Texas, so a lot of changes at that same time. But Capital Group has been great. It's such a collaborative culture, innovative mindset, and I really learned a lot and from each and every team that I've been part of within Capital Group. So when I talk about the biggest pivot, I guess I made was moving from individual contributor to like an official management role within Capital Group. So I would say that happened about 10 years ago. And I had to make a decision. And my mentor at that time, she really helped me kind of understand what it meant, how to navigate the change, what it meant to be a leader, and how to get there. And I had a lot of support from a lot of people within Capital as well. But I decided to make the move because I thought I could make a positive impact by combining my technical skills with and developing a team. And I had to shift my mindset there, right? Because the definition of success is different as a leader. I mean, as like I don't want to say leader because official leader capacity versus being an individual contributor. So it took me a while to get there, but I think it was a really good balance for me. And looking back, everything was kind of unplanned, but it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's all about that, right? Just embracing whatever the journey has to offer. And definitely, I know all of you are leaders on this call, so definitely keep some of those pieces of advice because I might be coming back to a few of you to see what that might look like. I think especially for anyone on this call that may be contemplating a career break or a career pivot, which it seems like most of you had a chance to experience at one point or another, sometimes that can be really scary to not only think about it, but then also to act on it, especially if it's a way to get more aligned with maybe your goals or your passions. So Monkey, you had talked about, you experienced career pivots too. And when I was reading your bio, we had talked about how you had spent time in many different technology groups across Capital Group. So for you, like, how do you know when it's time to either take that career break or lean into that career pivot? I think especially for anyone that may be on this call, they're really looking for some words of wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. I think career pivots they can be very challenging. One quote from Winston Churchill that I keep coming back to over points in time in my career is, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, but it's the courage to continue that counts, which I think is something that again, I revisit that several times as I'm kind of thinking about how am I going to navigate the next phase of my career? How am I going to navigate the next title change in my career, or lateral even team move in my career? And really, like, as I'm thinking about that, the career pivots and the career changes, I think about two things. One, what are my personal goals, right? Am I maybe in a job that I want to completely do a switch into a different career path? Am I wanting to sort of move up? And really sort of understanding what is it that I'm looking for. And I think the second thing that I try to assess is, okay, I'm in this role today. Is this going to take me where I want to go, right? Am I going to be able to move up to the next level? Am I going to be able to maybe pivot into a different part of our business, even if that's at a lateral move? And as I think about those two things, I think if you can find alignment in your current role, to me, that's sort of career beauty. But if you can't find alignment in those things, I think that's when you really have to start. That's when I ask myself the really tough questions of sort of, well, okay, if I want to get to here, but right now my career only allows me a few opportunities, or the team I'm on only allows me a few opportunities, how am I going to start working towards where I want to go? And I think it's about those incremental steps, but really I think it's what opportunity, where do you want to go, and what opportunities are in your current job that are things that you have to sort of think through as I make pivots.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, love the quote. So I'm gonna have to write that down myself because I think it's a healthy reminder. And it's just a great way to package a great piece of advice, thinking about what's the current state, what's the ideal future state, and what's that plan to get there, the in-between. Sam, what about for you?
So like Monka, I haven't had an official career break. Jonathan mentioned that Monka had twins, so I would say she probably didn't have a break at all during that time. I had my children about 4 years apart, so about 6 months at each time I took a little bit of extended leave to spend time with them. But I do think it's important, similar to what Monka said, right? You want to take a step back. You really want to understand, am I doing what I love? Am I growing? Am I stretching? Where is this path taking me? And that's what happened about 4 years ago. I was kind of asking those same questions. I love Capital Group. Am I doing what I love? It's working with a great organization. It was, yes, absolutely doing what I love. But what else is there? What other things could I be doing? And those questions led me to the role that I have today. And so I think it's really important to take a step back, reassess what your priorities are and what your passions are, and can really provide you much needed clarity during those times of pivots and breaks and just overall career journeys.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I think I'm making an assumption here, but I could imagine that any time that those career changes happened, that it was not without any challenges or perhaps any moments of self-doubt. So if you had faced any, and Sam, I'll start with you. If you had faced any of those challenges or moments of self-doubt, how did you overcome them?
Thanks. Well, I think everyone has some self-doubt at some point in their career. We call it a lot of different things: imposter syndrome, self-doubt, uneasiness, a bunch of different favorite terms. But I think everyone has self-doubt. I have self-doubt often. I really try to reflect on how far I've come and use that as motivation. I would say younger Sam would be really proud of where I am right now. And so I try to remember that really frequently. And I think a big tip is to set small goals, right? Things that you can work towards that really help you stay the course of those individual important milestones that you're looking for. And it's going to help you build confidence. So if you have small goals, you can achieve them. You're going to build that confidence to bigger goals and bigger achievements. And when you're facing challenges, I really believe it's best to find those as opportunities instead of obstacles, and also leverage other people that are in those types of positions that you're looking for, that'll really help with that self-doubt and how you achieve those different milestones you're looking for.
Yeah, opportunities, not obstacles. That is also a great reminder. And I think I do want to talk about networks at some point too. So I think that is going to be a huge part of just helping with these transitions to be super successful. And then Hima, I know that you yourself had some career changes and pivots as well. So any challenges, moments of self-doubt, how did you personally overcome them?
Yeah, like Sam said, I think we all face challenges and self-doubts all the time. Whether it's doing a presentation or doing a panel discussion like this one, we get nervous. But I'd say the only way to overcome a challenge is it's okay to be scared, accept it, but do it anyway. And again, to add to what Sam said, take it in small steps and take the necessary steps to prepare and take one step at a time to get there. And just learn from every experience. And it's okay if not everything goes your way. Kind of reset, take a step back and try again. I would also say, don't have a fixed goal or like an ideal idea of success in your mind. Kind of let those opportunities come and, come as they may, and then you'll feel a little bit less scared and more relaxed about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. When I think about networks, or how all of you think about networks, Monk, I think I'll ask you this question. How have you not only built, but also leveraged your network throughout your career? And I think especially now more than ever, we're in such a unique time, right? So not only are organizations completely virtual or just operating on a virtual landscape, they're also operating more globally than ever before. Like, how do you also tie in all of those other layers of complexity with just networking? And I also completely appreciate that networking isn't everyone's favorite task to do. So yeah, I'm curious to hear from you, Mocha.
Perfect. Networking, in my opinion, especially at Capital Group, we're a pretty large firm with around sort of 9,000 employees. It's really important. And, I feel fortunate enough from each of the teams that I've been on at Capital Group. I've kind of picked up a couple of connections from one team and a couple of connections from another team. And so today I think I have a pretty large sort of network here at Capital Group. And virtual networking is very different from in person. I think there isn't a substitute from sitting right across from somebody and having a conversation with them. So I definitely think with networking, one of the things that I always think about is you have to be very intentional. It's a little bit of you're giving something to someone, but you're also receiving something. So I think agendas are really important while you're networking, but your network can be used for such a vast variety of purposes, whether it's moving an initiative forward or it's just seeking advice from mentors. I think networking is sort of that key to accomplishing both dimensions of things that are really invaluable here at Capital Group. So I think that as you're moving on your career journey, trying to find folks that you can kind of add to your network is really key.
Yeah, starting to build that web of people within your network. And then Sam, what about for you?
So if my husband were here, he would tell you that I'm a people collector, that I meet and make friends just about everywhere. However, it's not just about meeting people, right? It's fostering those relationships, making sure that those connections really matter. It's about leveraging them when you need help and providing your own guidance and support to them as well. I try to go to lunch every day with my network of peers and friends. I'm also a people connector. So if you're with me and I know you don't know someone, I'm immediately introducing you to them. I'm highlighting something cool about them that I think you might have in common. I just think it's important to continue to build that network of associates in your professional life, but also personally, right? So there are lots of industry leaders outside of our little bubble in Capital Group that I try to stay connected to. And Capital Group really offers an amazing opportunity for associates to build their networks. So we have a variety of programs. We have leadership programs that Monka, Hema, and myself have had a great fortune to be a part of. We have Capital Communities, which is groups of associates that have maybe it's sporting things in common, reading, different cultural things in common. We also have in information technology, which where the three of us sit today, a program called Hello Friend that offers an opportunity for meet someone new every month. It's a really great way to maybe get to know the person that you see every day when I'm going to get my water, but I don't exactly know them, or someone in another time zone. And then lastly, I'll highlight, we have a wonderful program. Monka talked about mentoring. We have a program called Mentoring Matters that I feel very fortunate to be part of since the pilot. And I've served as both a mentor and a mentee. And last year, I had the opportunity to mentor a manager in Tokyo, which was a really wonderful experience. I'm just thinking globally and how we shift our workforce. It's been a really wonderful opportunity to network at Capital.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's kind of what Munko was just talking about too, the fact that giving something, receiving something, and I think especially when you're playing that mentor-mentee role, that's a perfect way to do both. Hema, the next thing I was thinking about is your bio and how you are a natural relationship builder. You love to do that with the business and your IT partners. So especially for anyone that may be in the audience that has maybe a smaller network, or they're just trying to start with building a smaller network, what's the best way that you get started to make those meaningful connections?
Yeah, I mean, while I've built a pretty large network, just organically, right, throughout my career and the work that I've done, it was hard for me to intentionally build connections, and it was something that my manager had to really push me to do multiple times before I actually did it. So I think the best way to really to start is try to connect with somebody on a more personal level. Try to get to know them, break the ice with them, ask them where they're from, where they went to school, ask them about their career journey, and then you can share your career journey. I think that's a really good way just to break the ice and get to know each other, and not necessarily go, with any specific goal in mind. Once you get to know each other and the ice is broken, then you could talk about some of the challenges that you faced, ask them for feedback based on their experiences, and it becomes kind of a two-way street, right? So you don't have to think about it as you're going to them for help. It's a two-way street, right? It's I think we both can learn from each other. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, thank you. And I think there's one thing that I heard probably just extracted from all three of your responses, or it's about the Capital's core values. Two of them come to mind just through your responses: community and diverse perspectives. Like, that's so critical to how we just operate as associates across Capital Group, or even just outside in the world with other people. So I think that's just something that I really heard come through in all those responses. So thank you. We had also talked about leadership. And Monk, I'm going to start with you. Thinking about any advice you have for women on this call who are wanting to move into leadership, or maybe moving into it right now as we speak, especially, and I think Hema, you were saying this too, that the shift to go from maybe individual contributor into a leadership position was the biggest jump for you personally. But Monka, what about for you? Any advice that you have for people right on the cusp, or about to experience it, or just want to, generally speaking?
Thanks. And I would definitely say, I think for myself also, moving from an individual contributor role to management, even though I've moved a lot of teams internally at Capital Group, was probably one of the bigger shifts for me too. It's a lot different to sort of informally lead a team versus formally leading a team and driving initiatives forward. And then I think in terms of advice of anyone who would like to sort of move into that leadership role, I'd have two sort of pieces of advice, right? One, as an individual contributor, you can always start to sort of look for some leadership opportunities, right? Whether that's mentoring a more junior associate on your team. I think when I was an individual contributor and really wanting to sort of move into that leadership role, that was one thing I sort of focused on as we got new members into the team. Can I sort of be their mentor within the team, and can I help them sort of like learn the ropes of that specific team? There's a lot of other things you can do. Leading a team, right, in IT, that could mean, if you're an Agile team, being a scrum master of a particular Agile practice group, or your practice group, and really sort of trying to figure out, in the current role that I'm in, if you're interested in leadership, can I already assume a unofficial sort of leadership title, which I think really sets you up when you assume the leadership title, practicing as much as you can at the individual contributor level. And then next, I would say one of the things that I think is so key, that especially I think as females, something that we don't gravitate towards naturally, is ensuring that you let your interests be known, right? So when I was interested in leadership, I tried to make sure that my manager knew that I was interested in it. I tried to make sure that I network sort of knew that I was interested in it, because maybe it didn't come from my team directly, but it came from my network that I had sort of organically built up at Capital Group. And then, I think with the letting your intentions be known, maybe it doesn't work out for the next immediate position that opens up, but over time, your network, your managers, your management team can sort of help you get to that, set up opportunities for you, set up different small steps to sort of getting there. And I think sometimes just letting folks know and putting it out there sort of into the world somewhat really helps, because maybe it's not the exact next one, but maybe it's one a little bit down the road.
Yeah, especially I feel like, just being in the space that I'm in, career development, internal mobility, I feel like one of the things that we try to say is self-advocacy is so important. And that's what I heard you just say. So thank you. And then Hema, for you, I want to go back and see any advice that you have for people on this call.
Yeah, I have three things. Two of them overlap with a lot with what Manka also said, but I would say be your authentic self and kind of define what your own leadership style is. I've worked with a lot of different leaders, and I think we've all worked with a lot of different leaders. So it's important to learn from all of their different ways of working, but then make it your own, and be authentic to yourself. I've had to create my own style by learning from others and turning it into what I think looks like a leader. So for me, and what works for me. So I would say, that's one key thing, just be authentic to yourself. And then, like Manka said, you could be a leader in any role. You don't have to have a specific title to be a leader. So, take those opportunities when it comes, and don't be so intent on having that title, but take on the leadership role wherever it comes. And then third, don't be afraid to take risks, right? So this is what pushes us outside of our comfort zone. We talked about how to overcome challenges. It is scary when you're making a pivot like this to step into a leadership role. So it's okay, and don't be afraid to take that risk. And just embody that growth mindset, because if you're thinking about this, you probably already have it. So kind of embody and embrace that growth mindset and do it anyway.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to that one word. I think Monkey, you had said it too, courage, just being courageous with your career. Totally. At Fairy God Boss, they have observed that not all women feel comfortable enough to take ownership of all the amazing things that they achieve, or perhaps they don't want to brag about their successes. So Sam, we're going to squash that, and we're going to brag about successes and achievements. So what comes to mind for you? What's the one thing you want to brag about right now?
You're right, Jonathan. This is a hard one. I think as a mom, and a working mother, it's hard to focus on what you're achieving. I think we're so focused on what our kids are achieving, what our teams are achieving, what our company is achieving. So for me personally, today, I'm proud of the mom I am today, right? That's one. Personally. Professionally, I'm cheating, I'm doing two. Professionally, I do a great job of highlighting other successes. There you go. That's the Fairy God Boss comment, I'm sure, and feedback that they've heard across the world. But if I think about professionally, I am really proud of the success and the work that I'm doing in the firm. I am really making an impact on early career associates that are future leaders of this organization. And so personally, proud of the mom. Professionally, I'm really proud of the work and the impact and the investment that Capital Group is making into our early career strategies.
Totally. And I can speak to the work that you're doing at Capital Group, and I see it, and it's amazing work. So you should be proud. Hema, what about for you?
This is a hard one, but to second Sam's point, I think we're all moms here, and that comes first and foremost. And while I don't know if I can take the full credit, I'm super proud of my kids and the whatever I've put in to raise them and the people that they've become. I'm so proud to see Sachin and Sahana and the strong and resilient people that they've become. On the professional front, I think I would say I'm just proud of my resiliency and my problem solving skills. I have made several shifts, right, in my career, but every single one, I feel like I've stood up to the challenge. I've been able to build my reputation, build up the skill set that was needed for each of those roles. So that's something that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, thank you. And like we said at the beginning of this, 2 graduations this year. So definitely be proud of that. And then Mocha, what about for you?
Yeah, and my answer is going to be somewhat similar to Sam and Hema's answers. I'm also a mom. I have 9-year-old twins who are in 3rd grade. And so I'm so proud of them. I think they are definitely my priority in life as well. And I think that especially being a working career focused mom, I think one of the things that I think about is just that mom guilt factor of have I done enough? But I think my kids are turning out okay, although I have no graduations that are coming up yet. We still have a number of years to go. And on a professional note, I have been on a lot of teams at Capital Group. I think this is my 10th different team at Capital Group. I was part of that internally rotating group first, and then I've done a couple of moves myself across my almost 20 years here. And so I'm definitely very proud of sort of being able to be on a number of different teams and sort of shifting focus. But I'm also really proud of sort of being a leader at Capital Group. I enjoy sort of playing that player coach model and being able to help others grow and help others kind of succeed in their careers.
Yeah, thank you. We have 3 amazing moms on this call. And I think one of the questions that comes to mind for me is like, how did you manage to balance personal life with the demands of transitioning to new careers? Any tips for maintaining this balance? And maybe Mocha, I'll just stay with you. That works.
Sure. And this is really tough. I think this is probably, it's a very tough thing for me to do personally. I don't know that I get it right every single day. I think having a demanding career and trying to raise a family isn't the easiest feat. But I think it sort of takes a village to balance the 2 things. Luckily, I have a very supportive husband and I have parents that are close by. And so that really helps me. I think in terms of sort of tips for sort of maintaining the balance, I like to make checklists, and I have like a daily checklist of, okay, I've got these 5 things that I need to do at work, and I have these couple of things that I need to do at home in the evening. And I try to get through my list every day on a very sort of tactical level. That's how I sort of manage my day to day.
Yeah, thank you. I think also for any professionals that may be transitioning from the business into IT or vice versa, Hema, for you, I mean, especially since you've seen so many different industries, like what were some of the key skills that helped you make those shifts successful?
So to be fair, I was primarily on the IT side most of my career. But I think building that partnership with the business has truly helped me be a stronger technologist, right? I think it's really important to understand the business that you're supporting, and kind of the workflow and the processes that they are doing to help you understand how to build better solutions for them. I wouldn't think about it as business or IT, because I think it's really one team, and you're solving problems together and building solutions together.
Yeah, I think that mindset is helpful. Yeah, thank you. And then Sam, thinking about just career pivots versus deepening expertise in your current field, right? So you can stay and be great or take on a new challenge. Like how do you identify that one time when that pivot makes sense versus staying and being, the expertise in a certain field?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think go back to some of what we talked about, right? When we're really reassessing the priorities and what we're looking for, I think that's a good time to really ask yourself, should I stay in this role? continue to deepen my expertise, stay and be great? I think we talk a lot about, right? Or should I go stretch myself? Should I go find another opportunity where I'm learning, growing in different ways, and I'm leveraging those real strong strengths that I have in another opportunity? It's a hard decision for all of us. And I think, the three of us have had to make that decision a couple different times. I don't really see it as walking away from that deepening and strengthening those expertise. I really think about taking what I learned and just moving on to the next thing, and then enhancing and growing those skills, and then going to the next thing and doing it again. But it doesn't mean that, people don't decide to stay on a team and really strengthen that up. Being a subject matter expert in a specific area, especially within financial services, is such an important thing. Monka talked about going to different teams within the investment group kind of life cycle. That's important because you're taking all these nuggets, right? And you're like, I know the equity side, I know the fixed income side, I know all these different things. And you become this really well-adjusted leader and associate. So it's really has to be what the individual is looking for. Are they looking to be this very deep wealth of knowledge where they can support the area that they're in? Or are they looking to grow and stretch and take those learnings with them to yet another space within the company, or obviously external to the company?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I feel like there's one thing that I took away from what all three of you said. It's just like some of those reflective questions that all of you were asking yourselves when thinking about going into those career pivots or changes or whatever you want to call it. And Sam, I think you just reiterated the fact that like those self-reflection questions are so important to be sort of that guiding star of like, am I making the right decision? Yes or no? And just staying sort of like true to your values and your passions and your goals. It's just a way to sort of calibrate with everything else that is going on within the world around you. And I think this is an exciting time to transition to some of the questions that we received from the audience. So I think the first one that we received is looking at salary. So what factors beyond salary should professionals prioritize when considering a career change or relocation? So maybe Sam, I'll stick with you for this one question if that works.
Okay, wonderful. Again, you're looking at assessing, where you are in your life during the time of looking at a new opportunity. And so salary isn't always the thing you should be maybe like trying to grab, right? Or the title. When we talked a little bit, Monka talked about like balancing work-life balance. To me, that's super important. We have different seasons in our life, right? Today, you find me running out of the office trying to get to football or lacrosse or some high school thing or whatever I'm looking for that day. And that to me is important today, right? It wasn't important when I first joined 20 years ago. It was a different season of my life. I was working late. I was, doing lots of things. And so I think it's important for you to take a step back and say like, okay, yes, that salary is awesome, right? But is it really going to meet me where I am today with what I need? And so maybe in different seasons of our life, we need more retirement options. Maybe we need more flexibility because we're going to start a family, or we have a middle schooler and a high schooler that we have to like run and catch all the time, right? What is that individual thing that you need in your life? So it's very easy to be like shiny object, big salary, right? But you really want to understand, what are the core values of that company? Do they align with what you're looking for in that season of your life today?
I love that. I don't know if I've ever heard that before, but the seasons of life. Yeah, that's super helpful. Monka, what about for you? I think, in case it's helpful, just to to ask the question again, for thinking about factors beyond salary that professionals should prioritize when considering a career change or relocation.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think some of my answer might overlap with Sam's answer, but one of the things that I think about is what experiences will I get from that position? And what skills might I gain from a new position, a new relocation? And so I think that that's first and foremost, right? I think salary and title and all of those other things can kind of naturally follow if you do really well in your next role, or if you do really well in the next opportunity. And so I think that one thing that I always think about in a role change, even though they've all been here within Capital Group, is really what skills might I gain from this next role? and what experiences might I get to help me with where I want to go, right? So even if it's a lateral move over, maybe this is going to help round me out a little bit, and then I'm ready for the next step. And so I always look for what skills am I going to gain and what experiences will I gain.
Yeah, thank you. I remember I was listening to a podcast or something recently, and it said that skills are almost the currency of your career. So thinking of it that way, I don't know, just reminded me of the podcast that I listened to, thinking about there's this like intangible benefit of the skills that you seem to gather along the way within your career. I like that. Hema, we have another great question from the audience, and it's thinking about what are the biggest mindset shifts that are needed to transition from a functional role to a broader leadership position?
Yeah, I guess an analogy I would use for this is think about like a player versus a coach, right? So as a player or an individual contributor, you're responsible for your specific role or your specific story or work that you have to do. As a manager, as a leader, you're essentially the coach of that team, and the success of the team is what drives your success. So thinking about how you want to structure the team, how do you want to prioritize the work for your team, and make sure that everyone's strengths and skill sets are being utilized appropriately, and how do you build those skill sets for your team? So those are some of the things that you need to think about. Other things that you need to think about as a leader, I think, is managing your stakeholders, working with your business stakeholders to prioritize their needs and understanding how it impacts your team. There's budgeting considerations, so there's different aspects that come into play when you step into a leadership role.
Yeah, thank you. It's just the depth and breadth of everything that you're going to have to be dealing with just on a whole new scale. But also, to your point, being courageous with just taking all that on, knowing what it comes with. When we think about the future, and I know that none of us really know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but thinking about any emerging trends that you're all seeing, especially as IT leaders, like based on these trends, like what types of new opportunities for career changes, at least do you anticipate in the future? And Sam, maybe I'll ask you this question.
Sure. The future, I think, is going to be interesting. I'm not sure. I think some people think they know what it's going to look like. Others, I think, like me, are like, let's just see how it goes. But the technology landscape, especially, right, is ever changing. And I think that we're seeing it as leaders here at Capital Group, right? We're constantly seeing new technology come into the organization. We're also seeing the amount of technology that's happening in the schools that both our children go to, the colleges that some of our kids go to, right? And also the skills that are coming out of school. I think, Hema and Monka have had lots of early career associates in their organizations, and they've seen just how advanced some of the skills are that they're coming out of school. Definitely far more advanced than when I graduated college. But I think it's going to be important for us to all think about, since we're talking about pivots, right, and how we make changes in our life, we're going to have to really be ready for those changes and on point to say, what am I good at? How am I going to add value? How do I continue to strengthen what I'm really good at? Because even if technology comes in and plays a big piece of that, you understanding your value and what you bring to our organization, I think is going to be way more important than any technology that comes in. So really understanding how do you pair what you're strong at to kind of keep up with those trends that we're seeing in the world.
Totally. I think about how fast, even capital is changing, how fast our industry is changing, how fast technology is changing. So no crystal ball, and as easy as it would be to have that, I think what I'm hearing from you, Sam, is just to be uber flexible with whatever might be coming down the line and kind of adapting as those things sort of enter your world. Monk, I think one of the last questions that we got was how the culture at Capital Group supported any career growth or transitions, any sort of initiatives or programs that were super helpful for that. I think we have the benefit internally of knowing how special Capital's culture is, but any deep insights that you want to share in that regard?
Sure, and I want to echo kind of some of the sentiment in your question. I feel so fortunate to be at Capital Group almost 20 years later, from being an early career college hire at the beginning of my career. And so I think that our culture plays a big role in sort of my experience, and I think I can speak for quite a few of the associates here at Capital Group. It also transcends into sort of our everyday lives. Where when I think about sort of how does the culture help, Capital Group is very open to sort of you making career changes, and they're very supportive of sort of you making those career changes, and we have the infrastructure to support it, right? So when I was looking at going from an individual contributorship to a manager position, I had gotten to take part in a Capital Emerging Leadership Harvard sort of business training program. And so it was a great program just to sort of study leadership. And that sounds kind of weird. How do you study leadership and how do you study becoming a leader? But it was a fantastic program where I actually used quite a bit of what I learned during that program in my day-to-day. And then I've been part of other leadership programs since then too. And so I think a combination of sort of the very embraceful sort of Capital Group culture and embracing sort of wanting to allow folks to make those career pivots, make those career changes, along with sort of that supportive infrastructure with the leadership programs that we have. We have plentiful leadership programs here at Capital Group, have really been a perfect balance of sort of doing and learning.
Yeah, thank you. And then Hema, I think I'm gonna ask this question to all of the panelists. So Hema, what about for you? Like, how has Capital's culture really supported your career journey, the pivots, the challenges, all of the above?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. So Capital Group, I think we said, is super collaborative culture, open to diverse perspectives, right? So I think that humility and respect really gets embodied within the Capital Group culture. Throughout my whole career growth and journey in Capital Group, I've had a lot of different mentors and a lot of support. From my very first manager when I joined Capital to my current manager. So I think it just shows that no matter where you are in your career journey, the network, it goes back to the network that you build. People are there to help you and support you. And to what Manka said, there are several leadership programs. I've been through a couple of them myself, which is super helpful. One, to just meet other people who are in the same position as you, who have kind of, recently stepped into that leadership role, and are in the same, same career path as you, so you can build your network even more. There is different like women in technology forums within Capital Group, so that's super helpful. There is like architecture review boards, so there's a lot of different forums that can help you learn, build your skill set. There's an excellent learning and development plan. We talked about emerging tech trends. Gen AI is a hot topic right now, and all of our roles are certainly going to evolve with Gen AI. And I know there is a learning and development plan coming for that very soon. So Capital Group, I think, is very supportive of everyone's growth.
I love that. Sam, what about for you?
So I echo the love for Capital Group, right? I think that if you're not hearing it loud and clear from us, we could probably yell it a little louder for those in the back. But between the three of us, right, we have, it feels very old team, but like a little over 60 years of experience here at CG, right? And what I would say about Capital Group is that we have a very open door policy with our culture. And people don't just say that, right? If someone says like, hey, come by and talk to me, or hey, I'm here for you, or if you need something, stop by. That is from the brand new associate that just joined all the way to the top of our company, right? Many different leaders across CG really extend a hand to sometimes pull you along. Hema talked earlier about sometimes, we do it organically on our own, and then sometimes our manager nudges us to build networks or take that next leap. So sometimes we need a little bit of a yank, and sometimes we're the one kind of reaching out for the individual guidance, support, mentorship, whatever your favorite word is, right? And so at Capital, I really feel like we do a good job of that. A perfect example is the three of us on this panel, right? We didn't necessarily raise our hand to to be on this panel. We're excited to be here, don't get me wrong, but someone nominated us first. Someone recommended the three of us attend this panel with all of you today. And it just shows you a little insight into the leaders that we have at Capital Group and the thought that they have on growth, development, bringing people along, and really helping those individuals at our company, Capital Group, really achieve the results that they're looking for. So our culture, 100%, is maybe the best in the business, I would say. And I really feel grateful for the opportunity to be here and continue that tradition of helping others really achieve what they're looking for.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I know all four of us are biased, but I agree with you. I think it's the best. So fantastic. I know we are coming up at the top of the hour, so I'm going to turn it over to Sylvia in just a second. But first, I just wanted to say thank you to not only everyone who had attended today, but then, of course, the three of you who are just very amazing, inspirational leaders. And I just know that the audience took away so many wisdom pieces and just like life lessons from everything that you shared. So thank you. And Sylvia, I'll turn it back over to you to close things out. I think you're muted, Sylvia.
Thank you for that. What I would say is thank you, Jonathan, Samantha, Maka, and Hema, for just the incredible insights on career changes and strategies. I personally love the insights that you don't have to have the leadership title to act as a leader, and really being deliberate about building your network. So I hope all of you are also able to gain some great insights from our amazing and passionate leaders. Again, a special thanks to Fairy Godboss for providing this platform to showcase our leaders. And of course, a huge thank you to our audience, just for your time and engagement. Your participation truly made this event special. So as we wrap up, here are just some next steps for you. If you can just follow us on Fairy Godboss and LinkedIn to stay connected. Join our talent community to stay connected. We'll pop a link in the chat here. And also visit and explore some of Capital Group's career site on just opportunities that might be perfect for you. You'll also be able to, look out for follow-up communication from us in a few days, just highlighting the resources and connection points. So again, thank you once again, and let's continue to unlock our career potential together. Have a great one.